Creek washed them away. They had a perfect system to get rid of all the junk. These were water barrels up on the roof here in case of fire. They could dump the water barrels down the roof. Now this is an overall view of the Knapp Stout in 1870. Here you can see they have this very unique arch bridge across here. This building was built right on the dam. The dam came across here and it had a double right corner in it here. And the main mill was built right on top of the dam. And this is the old shingle mill over here. This is Wilson Creek coming in here. Now we're going to have several pictures taken from this very same place. And we'll note the difference as the time progresses. This building here was the main office and also the company store. Another thing that's rather interesting is there's a row of outhouses that also discharge into the river. Well, this is inside the mill. Here's a big log going into a gang saw. This was a whole series of saw blades that worked in an up and down motion with a big connecting rod from overhead here. The big steam engine ran the connecting rod and moved the saws up and down. And they'd saw a whole log sliced up into boards all in one operation. This is in the rafting platform. This is in the main building. You can see as the lumber was sawed up, they stacked it in these cribs and made it into rafts to float down the river. And this is the outside of that rafting platform. You can see it has this sort of ramp comes down. Well, they ran these rafts out here, and they have it with a big sweep oar on the front. This was so they could steer the raft in the current. On we're going down the river on the raft, and many of the family would ride along for the first day downriver for the first 10 miles or so and have a picnic on the raft. And here you see the families with their umbrellas, and they sort of made a party of the whole thing. They had their picnic lunch here with atop the shingles that rode on the top of the raft. You can see it looks like a pretty jovial party. And then they would meet the ladies with the wagon and haul them back to Menominee, and the men would go on down the river on the raft, delivering it to the points to the south. So here we're back at the Knapp Stout Mill. Here's the main mill here. This is the dam. We have a sluiceway that's built in here for other lumber rafts from upstream to come down through. We also have the Tainter gates, which were gates that we'll show in just a minute how they operated. Here you see the beautiful arch-type bridge and still the old shingle mill over here, right over the Wilson Creek, which comes right in here. Well, here's how the Tainter gate worked. This was invented by Jeremiah Bertram Tainter, who was Andrew Tainter's brother. And they wanted a simple way that they could raise and lower this gate and let the water out real quickly to get enough water to use to float the rafts down the stream. And the old way of having a gate was to take boards out, and that was a very slow method. And because you had pressure on it, you couldn't just lift it up like this one does, because there was so much pressure against the boards on the edges that you couldn't pull them out. So he invented this method with the pivot point back here, and that's what holds the weight. And there's very little drag on it, but yet it's sealed along the edges, and all you have to do is crank up, and one person can crank this up and open up the gate and open it quite rapidly. And this design is now used all over the world. Practically every dam in the world, from the biggest to the smallest, uses this sort of a control gate because it's such an efficient operation. And it was invented right here in Menominee, Wisconsin. And here is a sample of Tainter Gate. This is right outside the Wilson House, right along South Broadway Street. Well, now we're going to move from to the 1880s, and we'll see here we still have the arch bridge here, very nice, and impressive looking bridge. Here's our zigzag dam. The old Knapp Stout store is still in place. But we have a new shingle mill. The old shingle mill is gone, and this big round roof building has been added. This is the new shingle mill, and it also sits right over the top of Wilson Creek. Now we're going to go to the 1890s. Still have the big main mill here with the jog in it. We've got a new bridge. Well, the arch bridge is gone. Something happened to that one. It's disappeared. We got a new building over here. And this was now the Knapp Stout office, but it looks sort of like a mansion. A very Victorian type house. And we have the shingle mill here. And instead of dumping all the stuff in the river, they finally decided they needed a sawdust burner to get rid of some of this waste rather than just dumping it in the river. So they built this enormous sawdust burner. Well, this is what happened to the Knapp Stout mill in 1905. You can see this is the main part of the mill that went across the dam here. The water is cut right through the mill. This is the part that kind of sat along the edge of it. And that's all just sort of crumpling and bending over. And the flood went right through the middle of it. This building here is the flour mill, which is on the south side of the river. Just another view, a little bit closer view of it. You can see the same trusses we saw inside when we were looking at the rafting platform. You can see that's the same building. Here's an end view of it. See, the water is going right through the middle of the main floor of the sawmill.